Hi everybody, Michelle McClunan, astrologer and life coach, and I'm bringing you an astrology update for the next new moon, which is on the 20th of April. This is not only a new moon, it's also a solar eclipse, which, as you know, if you've been following astrology for a while, is a very powerful point in our calendar. It happens twice a year that we enter eclipse season, and the new moons and full moons associated with those seasons are much, much more powerful. They have much longer lasting effects in our lives, just due to the alignment between the sun, the earth, and the moon. So this new moon is at 29 degrees of Aries, and it's the second new moon in Aries, which makes it even more powerful. Aries being the sign of new beginnings, of bold new starts, of planting new intentions. The Aries cycle, when the sun moves through Aries, it's the start of our new year astrologically. So this is the second new moon, which means that there's even more emphasis on kind of new beginnings, huge paradigm shifts, changes in our planet, in humanity, and changes within us as well. So let me see how I can actually explain this new moon to you. New moons are always time to plant new intentions, to plant new seeds, to begin new projects. It's a kind of a new, fresh energy that we're given every month. A solar eclipse is more intense. It's more powerful. So this new moon is a very, very powerful time to plant new intentions, to plant new seeds, to kind of show up and to step up and to say, okay, where am I putting my energy? How can I show up in the most courageous way, in the most present way, to actually really step into this new kind of humanity, this awakening process. This new moon is very vital in the awakening process, as is this whole eclipse season, which we're actually moving through over the next few weeks. So Aries, as we know, is the sign of new beginnings. It's a fire sign. It's feisty. It's impulsive. It's direct. And it wants to get moving. That's the Aries energy. It doesn't want to stay back. It doesn't want to hold on. It doesn't want to be too concerned with all the issues and the details. It just really wants to head off into new adventures. The new moon is also conjunct, which means that it's right next to the planet Jupiter. Jupiter is our biggest planet, and whenever Jupiter is involved, it amplifies the energy. Now, it can amplify it in a beautifully powerful way, giving us a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of optimism, a lot of energy to actually move forward, to create bigger horizons, to expand our awareness. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It's the planet of abundance. So when it's connected with the sun and the moon, there's the need to expand, to grow, to learn, and there's the need to start new things, which is amplified by the Aries energy. So the Jupiter energy is almost fanning the flames of Aries, saying, okay, what's new? What's new? Well, how can you do this differently? How can you view your life differently? How have you been viewing it? And how would you like to view it? Now, the two of those luminaries, the sun and the moon, are also in a square to Pluto, which means basically just that there's a connection with them, and it's kind of a little bit of a conflict connection. As I've mentioned in the past, Pluto is basically the sign of transformation, transmutation. It's the sign of regeneration, death, rebirth, regeneration. So whenever it's touching something, there's that energy around. The energy of Pluto can bring things to the surface which have previously been hidden, and it can amplify things as well. So that's it. It definitely adds a very, very powerful energy to this new moon, bearing in mind that we've got the Aries planets amplified by Jupiter already, and then we've got Pluto in the picture as well. Pluto has just moved into the sign of Aquarius. As I said, this is the first time in 248 years that it's done so. So it's a big move for humanity. It represents the power of the people. It represents community. It represents standing up for freedom. It's a very, very big move which we're all feeling on some level. We would be feeling it more if it is connecting with one of our charts, and we will all feel it at this new moon because it's actually connecting with the new moon. So it can be a little bit turbulent. It can bring things out to the surface that were previously ignored. I always see Pluto as the plumber of the zodiac, and it kind of goes underneath the surface and says, there's this that needs healing as well. There's this that you need to be aware of. Now, the other part of this new moon, solar eclipse, is the ruler of the new moon. You always look to see what the ruler is. So the ruler of Aries is the planet Mars. Mars, this new moon, is in the sign of Cancer. Again, Cancer is a cardinal sign. Aries is a cardinal sign. Cardinal signs are new beginnings, initiatives, new energy. Cardinal people with a lot of cardinal energy in their lives, in their charts, would often be the leader. They would often be in front, even if they didn't really want to be. Capricorn, Libra, Cancer, and Aries are all cardinal signs. So this new moon, we've got this stellium, which is a group of planets in Aries, plus we've got Pluto, which has just moved into Aquarius. So it's very, very close to the 29th degree of Capricorn. So there's still that sort of sense of the Capricorn energy that's there still, as well as Mars in Cancer. Now, Mars in Cancer, as the ruler of the new moon, brings a whole new energy into the equation. So on one hand, you've got the Aries energy that wants to move forward and doesn't want anything to stop it. On the other hand, you've got Cancer, and Mars is the planet which wants to move forward. Mars is the natural ruler of Aries. Mars wants to move forward, go for the goals, and not stop. It's a masculine energy. It's a forward-moving energy. Now we have Mars in Cancer, which is much more sensitive, is much more emotional, is much more connected with feelings, is much more concerned about things like money, security, home, family, belonging. Where do I fit in? Where do I feel secure? Do I feel safe? It's much more concerned with those issues than Aries. So you've got these two, you've got Mars, which is the ruler of the new moon, kind of activating quite a lot of emotions. There could be irritation coming up, frustration of things not moving forward the way we want them to move forward. We could feel insecurities from childhood coming up, childlike things coming up that we thought we might have sorted out, insecurities, not feeling good enough, not feeling clever enough, pretty enough, young enough, whatever it is. And as I say, being nervous about security and money and home. Those are all issues of surrounding Cancer. So it's how we can actually deal with that, how we can navigate our way through that, is to actually feel the feelings that are coming up, but not attach to them. Not for a minute think that they are us, because we're the awareness that sees the feelings, but we still need to feel them. I think that feelings are coming up a lot for a lot of people right now. They could also be coming up in physical issues. So if you, for example, are feeling a lot of physical pain, there's usually an underlying emotional component there. So it's just a time where we are going to be looking at the fears, which are mind. It's our minds telling us all sorts of stories about the future, which aren't true probably, and the past. So it's just to identify that, to see it, to feel what needs to be felt, and to release the rest. That's very much the kind of cohesive energy of this new moon. It's very, very powerful. It's also going to be, as I said, it's going to be followed by a lunar eclipse on the 5th of May. And it is the second new moon in Aries. The first one was on the 21st of March. So whatever's been happening over the last month is part of this energy. What has been coming up for you? The other thing that's happening with this new moon is Mars, as I've just said, which is the ruler of the new moon, is in a square, which means that it's touching and connecting with Chiron, the wounded healer, which kind of amplifies what I've just said about our insecurities coming up, our pain bodies coming up, and they're coming up for healing. So if they are coming up, bear with them, notice them, accept them as part of being human, but you don't need to identify yourself with them. If those insecurities are coming up, see if you can ride the wave of the feelings as opposed to reacting off them, which is a tendency with Mars, because Mars in Cancer tends to react or act emotionally without much thought, because Mars is direct. Cancer is indirect. So that's a little bit of energy that we really need to navigate over the next few weeks, because eclipses have a longer period of influence than normal new moons. Not forgetting that this is a time to plant new seeds. So whatever you're planting this new moon will actually take root. It's very likely to take root, particularly if you're able to ground your intentions. So do something like write something down, plant an actual seed. We planted a crystal the other day on a piece of land. Those kinds of things are really, really positive. They're powerful rituals. So do something, write something down, do a little mood board, vision board of what you would like, how you would like to feel. This new moon is also very connected with the nodes. When we have a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, it means that the sun and the moon are aligned with the nodes of the moon. And the nodes of the moon represent our past and our future, our karma, and what we've actually come in terms of our purpose. And this is also quite powerful because it's also very connected with the new moon. So it's about purpose, but it's not about the outer purpose or the end goal. It's about living our lives in purpose, on purpose, moment by moment. That's what I believe that we're moving into as we move into this new way of being, as we open ourselves to a new earth. This is a new way of not focusing on the outcome, but focusing on the energy with which we're actually feeding this moment, the energy that we're putting into the field. And the more loving we can be, which would maybe mean being more accepting, being more allowing, the more loving we can be, that's what we're actually feeding into the field. And that's what's going to create the new earth. So this is all part of the awakening. The other thing that's happening is Mercury, the planet of the mind, is in a very close connection to Uranus, which is the planet of change, which could bring a lot of new kind of paradigm shifts to the surface. You might get a sudden knowing about something. Be very aware of that, of those sort of moments, sparks of insight. Just be open to them, because they could very well happen over this new moon. Revolutionary insights, out-the-box insights. This is telling us that over the next year, because remember that we're at the beginning of a new year, astrologically, that we need to look at things from outside of the box, from a higher perspective, from a wider perspective, not in the same old way. So this is very much a paradigm shifting time, where we need to be looking at how we've always looked at things, the patterns that we keep going around, the stories that we keep telling ourselves, and asking ourselves, are those still true? Do they still work? Do I need to look at those? Is the story that I'm telling myself about XYZ true? Are the stories that I've been telling myself about myself true? Are they serving me or the field or the people around me? It's a paradigm shifting time. Sudden insights, sudden changes. There can be sudden changes with this. There can also be the revealing of information suddenly coming up. So sudden kind of almost shocking news coming out, which I think is happening all the time, but there could be even more of that around the new moon solar eclipse. And the last thing that I just want to talk about is the planet Venus, which is in a square to the planet Saturn. And Venus is about our sense of value. It's the love planet. It's the relationship planet. And when it's in a square, it's also the planet of money. It's in a square to Saturn, which is kind of showing us where we need to be circumspect, where we need to be a little practical, where we need a little bit more structure, where we need to reassess, look at, see how we're actually dealing with our value system, with our values, with our resources, and with our relationships. So I think that it could be a little bit of a tricky time for relationships. You might already be feeling that. Relationships with other people, which might be highlighting and bringing to the surface those insecurities. Just see it as that, and see if you can actually deal with your own feelings through the process of this and not project them onto the partner or onto the other person. These things are actually here to teach us and to help us grow, and to be kind of like sandpaper so that we can polish our diamonds. But it doesn't feel like that sometimes. Sometimes it feels that we want to run and hide. So just to be aware of that, if relationship constructs, if relationship limitations, if frustrations come up in relationships, with your money, with your sense of value, just know that this is all part of the picture and it's all part of the healing. And it's just about looking at things from a different perspective and dealing with things in a slightly different way. This is paradigm shifting, perspective changing time. But it is a time to be gentle as well. There's a lot of fiery, big energy around. So we need to take some time out. We need to take some time to be. We have some energy also in Taurus. Mercury is in Taurus. The node is in Taurus. It's all very connected. And Taurus says, come back to earth. Come back to earth. Ground yourself. Go outside. Smell the roses. Lie on the grass. Treat yourself to a nature bath every day, even if it's for a few moments. Sensory comfort is really good at this time because things are a bit turbulent. So when things are a little bit turbulent, ground. Bring yourself back. Bring yourself back to the senses. The senses are a beautiful way of actually dealing with the very busy mind and bringing ourselves back to the senses. So if you ever feel yourself going off into the past or into the future, is to actually bring yourself back to the senses, the 5 senses. What can I hear? What can I smell, taste, feel, see? Bring yourself back to those, and it brings yourself back to the middle point. I drew a card and we got, I don't know how you say it, I think it's Zhu Quanjing, which is the mystic of peace, which I find very, very interesting because Aries, the Aries planets that we've got, including the sun and the moon, whenever we have a big lineup or a big amount of energy in one sign, we always look to the opposite sign to see how that releases and what, if you want to call it, the antidote to it is. So Aries on the one hand is about drive and forward motion and let's get this going. It's quite sort of self-oriented. It's about let's just do this. And the opposite sign, which is Libra, is a sign of the other. It's a sign of cooperation. It's a sign of peace, balance, and harmony. So where we can bring peace, balance, and harmony into each moment, that is going to help us to navigate the next few weeks. The mystic of peace says, I am peace. When my mind is clear, the way is clear. Now we all want to see the way. We all want to see the goals. But this is saying it starts with I am peace. When my mind is clear, the way is clear. So this mystic embodies the unwavering tranquility that exists deep beneath the turbulence of our daily thoughts. She was a 12th century Taoist mystic and poet. And her message is really about clearing the mind so that when we take action, it is not from the ego, it's from the source of life itself. It says here, the pedestal of awareness is steady as a boulder. Zhu taught that meditation allows us to disengage from the surface drama that the ego can invite us into. She often refers to the moon in her poetry because this was the symbol of the eternal sky, or the freedom we can reach if we stop looking at the light and shadows the moon casts and see the moon itself. When we select this card, it says, Albert Einstein reportedly said that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we used to create them. Clarity only comes from clarity. There is a peace and calm that exists far beneath the constant banter that most of us listen to all day within our minds. There is. We've just got to remember it and return to it, because the banter is not who we are and it's not real. It's almost like we have a few roommates living in our heads, and when we realize that, we can bring ourselves back. Jungian author Clarissa Pinkola Estes calls it the river beneath the river. It's the steady flow of the universal life force that wants us to reach our goal if we can only get still enough to merge with it. Wu Wei in Taoism translates as doing nothing. It's a sacred feminine art of trusting the force of life that exists within us all. Zhu mastered this spiritual practice by calming her mind and experiencing the still center that is at the eye of every storm. This is a call for us to be still, to do nothing other than shift our awareness, come out of the current state of mind that we're in before making any moves or decisions. It reminds us that we only want to take action when what is moving us is the force of love at the heart of everything. It's very, very, very potent in terms of this new moon. Enter the heart and ask to experience stillness. Repeat the mantra, I am at peace. I think that really says it all. Enter the heart. Ask to experience stillness. Repeat the mantra, I am peace. Remembering that everything we say after the word I am is saying who we are. If we say I am sick, then we're sick. I am frustrated, then we're frustrated. I am peace is very calming, very still. And as the antidote to all this Aries energy, I believe that that is going to help us to navigate our way forward with the possibly very brave steps that some people are taking right now, in whatever part of their lives that they're taking them, is to do so in peace, to do so in presence, to take a step from here as opposed to here. And when the head is going wild, to bring ourselves back to here and to then take the next action. Because the courage that we look for comes from the heart, comes from a place of centeredness, not from a place of duality. So I hope that has helped you and that it gives you some clarity about what you might be feeling. And I wish you all a very beautiful solar eclipse, and I wish you peace. Thank you for listening. Lots of love.